This is TJ with Tech Made Easy. Welcome to the channel. My channel is all about making things affordable, practical, and easy. And one of the things we're going to do today is we're going to learn how to install Windows 11 on a non-supported machine. Now, I knew that this was going to happen. I kind of feared that Microsoft in the future would relax their criteria. In fact, when you go on Microsoft's website now and you download an ISO for Windows 11, they actually have a section there on how to bypass the hardware requirements. I don't know if very many people know that, but you still have to go in and edit some files as you're doing the install. But the method I'm going to use, it's point and click, creates the thumb drive for you, your install drive, and you're done. Strips all those requirements out automatically for you. And the reason why I'm doing this is I have all of my computers in my house. None of them are going to meet the hardware requirements for Windows 11. I probably won't go to Windows 11 until 2.5 years from now, when they're not going to provide security updates for Windows 10. But I want to be able to have a method in which I can use Windows 11 on my older equipment. And I also want to test Windows 11 as well. And I've been testing Windows 11 with some gaming, and you'd be surprised the performance that I gained. And that video is coming up. And part of the reason too is on my channel I promote buying systems around $800. They're X99 systems, putting in great CPUs. There's awesome CPUs on that platform that can game at pretty much the same performance as the latest and greatest hardware. And so what do you do if you have a system and you don't want to upgrade it, or your system is new enough, even newer than mine, and it still doesn't meet the hardware requirements? How do you save that equipment? How do you justify going and buying new equipment just to run Windows 11? I think it's atrocious that Windows has done this. I understand there's security reasons, but when you run Linux, you don't run into any of these problems. But let's just go ahead. Let's see how easy this is. We're going to go through the install, and also too, what do you do if you have a version of Windows 11 or a version of Windows 10 and you want to upgrade, not install it fresh, but upgrade? I'm going to show that process as well. Anyway, so let's go ahead, get on the computer, and let's install Windows 11 on non-supportive equipment. Okay, we're at the Windows desktop here. This to me is the easiest. I've seen all kinds of ways to install Windows 11. This one here is the easiest one to install Windows 11 and any newer versions of Windows 11 that comes out. So what you're going to have to do is you're going to have to download Rufus, and I'll put the link in the description below. And even though you may have, if you already have a USB burner to burn ISOs to, you're still going to need Rufus, and you'll see why here in a minute. So you're just going to go down the bottom, and you're going to get the latest version, which is this 3.2.2. It could be even later. It could even be an earlier version depending on when you watch this, but you just click on this. Now, this is one thing I don't like about some of these websites. They put an ad in here, and do not just close these ads. Don't open them, because then it'll try to download or install whatever. It's one of the things you just have to put up with sometimes, but Rufus is a great app. And so you just hit close, and then it'll just start downloading. Now, it doesn't always come up with an ad. It may just start downloading automatically for you. So but then again, so here's Rufus here in my folder, and I've already downloaded this and put it on my desktop, so it's right here. So we're just going to launch this. Now what you want to do is you want to put your USB into your USB thumb drive into your computer, and we're just going to say yes. I want to open that, and so it'll automatically detect your USB stick in there. Make sure if you have more than one that you're choosing the right one. Now you can go on to Windows website and download, or if you've already downloaded the ISO, you can do that as well. But what I do when I use this is I just go ahead, and it has a download feature. If you want, you could just hit select and pull it in that way after you've downloaded it from Microsoft. But it has a download feature, and let's just click on download now, And what it's going to do, it's going to come up here and it's going to, and it grabs it from the Microsoft website. It's not grabbing it from anywhere else. And so what we're going to do here, we're going to choose our version of Windows 11. Now in this case, I'm choosing this one here. I'm choosing the older one because I want to show how you can then upgrade to a newer version of Windows 11 also. So we're going to hit continue. Continue. And we're doing English US. Continue. Obviously x64. Download. And you just tell it where you want to download it. I'm going to replace that one. Again, it pulls that right off of the so now it's downloading it from the Microsoft website. So let me explain something. So what Microsoft has done, and I knew this was going to happen. I knew it was just a matter of time, because there's a lot of people out there that have computers that can run Windows 11 that don't meet the hardware requirements of Windows 11. And I knew they were going to relax those restrictions. Even when you go onto the Windows website now, it now shows you how to skip the hardware requirements when you go to install Windows 11, but it's several steps. This program here just does it automatically for you. So we'll wait for this to get downloaded and then I'll show you what you do next. Okay, so now that this is ready, one of the things you may have to change is GPT to MBR. If you're not sure which one that your system can take, just use MBR. It'll work on everything. GPT, it's really a partitioning scheme. GPT will allow you to have 128 partitions. I don't know why anybody would want 128 partitions on a hard drive SSD, but if you're not sure, just put MBR to work no matter what. For the volume label, I'm just calling this Win 11-21H. And part of the reason is because this is the first version of Windows 11. Again, I told you I was going to show you how to upgrade it when the new version of Windows 11 comes out. And so that's really all you need to do there. And so you just hit start. And what you're going to want to do, not all of these may not be selected, but you're going to want to just select all of these. And then you can automatically name the PC. I'm just doing it a PC 11 just for me. But this here strips everything. Strips the data collection. I don't like BitLocker running automatically, so it disables that. So it'll just strip everything. So when you go to install this, it won't ask you any questions except for at the very beginning, English, anyway. It'll just go all the way through. And so you just hit OK. And it's all the data on the disk is going to be erased. And then it'll just go ahead and create that. As soon as that's created, we'll go ahead and boot up into our system and install Windows 11 on non-supported hardware. And again, my hardware that I'm installing this on is an HP Z440. It came out around 2013, 2015 models, and definitely does not support any of the hardware requirements for Windows 11. So right here, if I remember correctly, it took a really long time to get past this point. It must be creating the install files that it needs and stripping all of that data out of the ISO. So be patient. This will take several minutes. It seems like it might be frozen, but it's really just, I think it's really just stripping out everything that in that ISO that it needs to make it available to install Windows 11 on. So be patient and it'll finish. Okay, now that that's complete, let's go ahead and install Windows 11. Okay, so now that we're going into this, I'm going to hit up my boot menu, and I'm just going to boot off of the generic disk here. And what your key that you use to boot into your USB, you can either set that to boot automatically in your BIOS, or you'll have to find out what key allows you to choose your boot drive, so you can boot from your USB. Just depends on the computer that you have. Once you've done that, it'll just go straight into the Windows install. Now when you go to install this, there's not much to the install. It will just go ahead and install the whole thing. The only thing you have to do is choose your hard drive, and then it installs. So I'm not going to go through the whole install because there's really nothing to watch during that. You're just going to have to choose United States English, and it's already in there. You had to choose that, and so let's just hit next, install now. I don't have I'm not going to put in a product key right now. I'm going to choose my 11 Pro. Accept. Okay, so I'm just using a brand new drive here, so I'm just going to hit next, and it's going to start, and that's all you have to do. You don't have to touch the computer. Once it's done, it'll just boot right into Windows. Now, one thing I will say, when you go ahead and reboot, it may ask you to put in a password, but that's it. That's all you have to do. Okay, once it finishes, it's going to automatically reboot, and we're going to go be running Windows 11 on this HP Z440 that doesn't meet any of the Windows 11 hardware requirements. Okay, so once it may have to boot a couple of times, but once one of the boots, it went ahead and checked for updates. It just installed the updates, and now it's rebooting again, and we should be in Windows. Okay, now we're in Windows 11 on a system that doesn't meet any of the hardware requirements for Windows 11. And it can get updates and everything. Now, the only drawback is that if there's a major update that happens, where it's going to again check your system to see if your system meets all the hardware requirements, let's go ahead and create that disk again and install it. Okay, what I want to talk about next here is, right now I installed Windows 11 21H2, but there's a newer version than that. There's actually two newer versions of that, 22H2. So what I want to do here is, all you have to do is just repeat the process that I showed you before. We'll just download this, and we'll continue with Windows 11. And then we'll go ahead and choose the latest version, which is this 22 right here, V1. So we'll just choose that, continue, and we'll just make the same disk that we did before. Now, I'm not going to do that because I've already made it. But again, I just want to choose English United States, hit continue, and then it will go ahead and download that. And again, I've already downloaded it, and I've already created this disk, but it works the same way as it did before. So once you're done with that, because this particular version of Windows, you cannot go in and try to upgrade it straight from Microsoft. You're going to have to use the same program, but once you've done that, you can just click on your USB. This time hit setup. You don't have to reboot the computer, and it's just going to go through the setup process here just like it did before. Now, it may do some other things, like it's going to check for updates and stuff like that, but as you'll see here, it's just going to go. It's not going to check the hardware or anything like that. And again, we're installing this newer version of Windows 11. We're just upgrading it. And again, this is on an HP Z440. It is not compatible at all with Windows 11, and it bypasses everything, and then it will start the setup. So that's all you have to do if a newer version of Windows comes out. This is what you have to do if you're coming from Windows 10 and you're not going to do a fresh install of Windows 11. You just do the same thing. Okay, so now we just have to accept, and then like I said, it's going to go through and check updates. Oh, and by the way, while it's doing this, I did install some programs on here just so you can see that it's gonna everything will be the same. I have VCL media player, Steam, and a couple of games. I just want to do that to show you that everything's going to work the same as it did before. We're just upgrading this. Now if you are using Windows 10 and you want to, instead of start over with a fresh reinstall of Windows 11, I am going to show a video on how to do that with Windows 10. It's exactly the same thing here. Me personally, when you're going from a numbered version like Windows 10 to a Windows 11, to me, I feel like it's safer to just do a fresh install, but maybe you don't want to do that. And I personally may not do that with my kids' machines just because of how many games that they have on those machines. So, but I will be making a video on how, again, if you're using Windows 10, on how to upgrade it to Windows 11. But it's not going to be any different than the steps we've already seen here. And when it's doing these checking for updates, just remember some of these processes take a long time, so just be patient. Okay, once it gets done with checking for updates, one of the things it's going to say here is keep files and apps. Of course, we're going to do that. You can change that if you want, but I'm actually keeping all that, so I'm just leaving it all the same. I want everything to just transfer over to this new version. So just hit install. Okay, Windows 11 now, the newer version of Windows 11 now is now finished installing. We can go down here about the computer. We can see that we are now on Windows 11 22H2, and I can open up a few programs here. Open up Steam. I'm not going to play any Steam games. I'm just trying to show that all the apps are going to work after upgrading. And let's just go to Google. We'll just go to YouTube. And so this is what I have found just the easiest way to install Windows 11 on a machine that doesn't meet the requirements and any major update versions of Windows 11 to update that. So I hope this was helpful. This is TG with Tech Made Easy. Have a great day. Thanks.
Now that was easy peasy.